The alpha finally wanted to claim his Luna, but saw her in his best friend's arms. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, it is free, and it is the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic and emotional stories like this one. Your support truly means the world to us. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where in the world you are watching from and what time it is where you are right now. We love seeing how far these stories travel and knowing who is joining us today. Now, let's begin today's story. Take your hands off my Luna. Adrian Vale's voice cut through the moon garden so sharply that even the night seemed to fall silent. Lena Whitmore opened her eyes against Nathan Reed's shoulder and saw the Alpha King standing beneath the stone archway, still wearing the black ceremonial coat from his journey home. For 3 months, Adrian had kept her at a careful distance. 3 months of formal greetings, guarded conversations, and promises that the kingdom needed stability before he could acknowledge the bond everyone already knew existed between them. Tonight, Lena had finally stopped waiting for him. The cruel irony was that Adrian had returned intending to end that distance forever. Inside his coat rested the silver Luna pendant his mother had once worn. He had crossed nearly 400 miles from the council summit rehearsing the words he should have spoken months ago. Then he entered the garden and found Lena in the arms of Nathan, his oldest friend and most trusted advisor. Nathan slowly looked up. Adrian, this is not what you think. Then let her stand. Lena's expression changed. Nathan felt it too. She cannot. Adrian took one step forward. Lena immediately lifted her head. I can speak for myself. The words stopped him more effectively than any command could have. Nathan carefully helped her sit upright on the stone bench. Only minutes earlier, Lena had been walking beneath the moonlit trees when a strange pressure suddenly moved through her chest. Every sound had disappeared. Then she had felt something impossible, as though hundreds of invisible threads stretched outward from the palace, some bright and strong, others strained almost to breaking. Her knees had weakened. Nathan, returning from the council chambers, had caught her before she reached the ground. That was the scene Adrian had found. But Lena saw no trust in his first reaction. Only possession. What happened? Adrian finally asked. Now you want to know? Lena replied. Pain flickered across his face. Lena, you spent months telling me that being your fated Luna did not mean you were ready to choose me. I accepted that. She stood slowly, refusing Nathan's offered hand once she had found her balance. But you do not get to keep me at a distance and then call me yours because another man caught me when I fell. Nathan looked away, giving them what privacy he could without leaving Lena alone while she was still unsteady. Adrian's anger faded, replaced by something far more uncomfortable. Recognition. He had believed distance made him disciplined. He had believed refusing the bond protected Lena from palace politics and protected the crown from decisions driven by emotion. Yet standing before her now, he understood how that discipline must have looked from the other side. Like rejection. I came back to choose you, he said quietly. Lena's eyes softened for only a second. You should have trusted me before you were afraid of losing me. Adrian had no answer. Then Nathan noticed the light. Lena. A silver crescent was appearing along the inside of her wrist. Lena stared as delicate lines spread around it like threads woven from moonlight. Adrian's face went still. He had seen that symbol once before, carved into a forbidden chamber beneath the royal archive. According to the oldest surviving legend, it belonged to a sacred Luna bloodline that had disappeared centuries ago. Lena touched the mark, and the entire moon garden changed. Silver light traveled through the stone paths beneath their feet, branching outward toward the palace, the villages, and distant territories beyond the mountains. Lena suddenly felt those invisible bonds again. One was stronger than all the others, connecting her directly to Adrian. But beneath it she sensed something enormous spreading through the kingdom. Something fractured. Something ancient. Her breath caught. Adrian, she whispered. Something is wrong with the Pax. 3 months earlier, Lena had learned that being recognized by destiny did not mean being welcomed by the man destiny had chosen. The first time she entered Blackthorn Palace as Adrian's fated Luna, servants bowed, council members whispered, and noble families studied her as though she were a question the kingdom had not decided how to answer. Adrian had been courteous from the beginning. That almost made the distance worse. He gave her beautiful rooms overlooking the northern gardens. He assigned attendants to help her understand royal customs. He defended her when a noblewoman suggested an Omega lacked the strength to stand beside an Alpha King. Yet whenever Lena searched his face for something personal, Adrian retreated behind duty. "The bond does not get to make decisions for us," he told her one evening. Lena had respected those words. She believed choice mattered too. What she had not expected was Adrian to use choice as another name for avoidance. Days became weeks. He spoke with her about council schedules, border agreements, harvest reports, and ceremonial obligations, but never about the strange warmth that passed between them whenever their eyes met. When Adrian left for the council summit, he promised they would speak after his return. Lena stopped asking when. Nathan Reed noticed before anyone else. Adrian's closest friend had none of the king's careful formality. He brought Lena coffee when meetings ran late, challenged her opinions without treating her rank as fragile, and laughed when she defeated him at chess 3 evenings in a row. Most importantly, he never treated her as Adrian's possession. "You know you are allowed to have a life while he figures himself out," Nathan told her once. Lena smiled. Someone should tell him that. Someone has. Repeatedly. Their friendship became easy because neither expected anything from the other. Meanwhile, Lena began spending time with younger Omegas working. Inside the palace, one afternoon, she found 2 attendants arguing over a reassignment. Instead of deciding who was right, Lena asked each woman what she believed the other had misunderstood. Something strange happened while they spoke. Lena felt a faint pressure beneath her ribs, almost like a thread pulling tight, and then relaxing when the misunderstanding cleared. She dismissed it as intuition. Then it happened again when she helped a kitchen worker and a steward resolve a disagreement over schedules. Again when 2 neighboring families came to the palace over a disputed boundary. Lena could not hear thoughts or know hidden truths. She simply sensed when trust between people had begun to fracture. Each time she helped them speak honestly, warmth spread through her wrist. A pale crescent sometimes appeared there for a heartbeat before fading. She told no one, not even Nathan. She especially did not tell Adrian, who sent formal letters from the summit asking whether she was comfortable and whether the palace had provided everything she needed. Lena answered politely. What she wanted could not be provided by servants. She wanted to know whether Adrian saw her as a woman with a mind, a future, and choices of her own, or merely as a bond he was postponing. On the night before his return, Lena stood alone in the moon garden and felt hundreds of invisible connections ripple through her at once. Most were ordinary. A few felt strained. But far beyond the palace, several seemed almost broken. She pressed a hand against her chest as the sensation disappeared. Then she looked down. The crescent on her wrist remained visible for the first time. Beneath it, 7 tiny points of silver light formed a circle. Lena stared at them without understanding that the same symbol had once belonged to women whose names had been deliberately removed from royal history. Adrian did not sleep after the confrontation in the moon garden. By sunrise, the silver Luna pendant still rested inside his coat, unopened and suddenly heavier than any royal insignia he had ever worn. Lena had returned to her rooms after insisting she was well enough to walk, while Nathan followed Adrian into the private council chamber. "Say whatever you came here to say," Adrian told him. Nathan closed the door. "You were wrong." Adrian looked toward the tall windows. "I know what I saw. You saw me catch Lena when she nearly collapsed." Nathan's voice remained calm. "Then you decided the rest before asking her a single question." Adrian turned. "She was in your arms." Because the alternative was letting her fall. Silence settled between them. Nathan had stood beside Adrian since they were boys. He had advised him through difficult treaties, family losses, and years of learning how to carry a crown. He had never spoken to him without respect, but respect had never meant silence. "There is nothing between Lena and me," Nathan continued. "Not the way you think. She is my friend." Adrian's jaw tightened. "You became close. Someone needed to." The words landed exactly where Nathan intended. Adrian looked away. Meanwhile, Lena sat beside the eastern window of her room, studying the crescent mark on her wrist. It had not faded. 7 silver points surrounded it now, each pulsing faintly at different intervals. More troubling were the invisible threads she could still sense beyond the palace. Some felt warm and steady. Others carried a strange tension, like promises stretched too far. A knock sounded. Adrian entered only after she gave permission. He stopped several feet away. Nathan told me what happened. Lena nodded. Then you know he did nothing wrong. Yes. Adrian took a breath. And neither did you. She looked at him carefully. That should not have required Nathan's explanation. No, it should not have. His immediate agreement surprised her. Adrian reached into his coat and removed a small velvet box, but did not open it. I brought something back from the summit because I intended to ask you to stand beside me officially. Lena's eyes dropped to the box. Months ago, seeing it might have answered every hope she had refused to admit. Now it raised a different question. Why tonight? Because I finally understood what I wanted. After 3 months? Yes. And if you had not seen Nathan holding me? Adrian went still. Lena's voice softened, but the question did not. Would you have trusted your decision tomorrow? Or would fear have sent you behind duty again? He had no easy answer, and Lena was glad he did not invent one. I do not know, he admitted. Then do not ask me yet. Adrian slowly closed his hand around the box. All right. The response eased something inside her. Then the crescent on her wrist suddenly burned silver. Lena gasped and pressed her hand against the table. Adrian moved forward, stopping before touching her. May I? She nodded. He steadied her arm gently. The moment their hands met, Lena felt the kingdom again. Hundreds of bonds stretched across her awareness, but this time she recognized a pattern. Several distant pacts were connected to the crown by threads filled with distrust. Not hatred, not rebellion, something quieter and more dangerous. They had stopped believing anyone in Blackthorn was listening. Lena opened her eyes. The Western pacts. Adrian's expression sharpened. What about them? They are not turning against you. She struggled to explain the sensation. They think you turned away from them first. Adrian frowned. Their alphas renewed their oaths last year. An oath can remain while trust disappears. Before he could respond, the council bell rang 3 times, signaling an urgent royal summons. Nathan appeared at the doorway moments later holding a stack of sealed reports. Adrian, 6 Western pacts have refused to attend the renewal council. Lena looked at the silver threads glowing faintly around her wrist. Adrian looked from the reports to her. For the first time, he did not ask what his Lunabond demanded. He asked Lena, "What do you think we are missing?" "We are missing their voices," Lena said. The answer followed her into the royal council chamber an hour later, where 6 empty chairs stood beneath the banners of the Western pacts. Adrian remained at the head of the long oak table, Nathan at his right, while Lena sat where she could see every council member clearly. Chancellor Mercer placed the refusal letters before the king. 6 pacts declining the renewal council together cannot be coincidence. Your Majesty, they should be ordered to appear. Lena felt the crescent on her wrist warm, not because Mercer was lying, because everyone in the room was treating the refusal as the beginning of the problem. What happened before they refused? She asked. Mercer glanced toward her. Their obligations were explained repeatedly. That was not my question. Adrian watched her without interrupting. Lena turned toward Nathan. Can we see every message they sent the crown during the last year? Nathan hesitated. Those would be in the petition archive. Mercer shifted in his chair. The movement was small, but Lena noticed. So did Adrian. Bring them, the king ordered. An archivist returned 20 minutes later carrying 3 heavy boxes. Nathan opened the first and stopped. Inside were dozens of sealed petitions. Requests for winter grain assistance. Appeals concerning disputed water access. Reports that 2 mountain roads had become unsafe for supply wagons. Repeated requests for hearings with royal representatives. Several envelopes had never been opened. Adrian picked up one dated 8 months earlier. Why did I never see these? No one answered immediately. Mercer finally cleared his throat. The Administrative Council classified many as regional matters. They were addressed to me. Adrian's voice stayed quiet. That made the room more uncomfortable. Lena touched one unopened envelope and felt the invisible fracture sharpen. This is what I sensed. Adrian looked at her. Not rebellion? No. Exhaustion. She searched for words that could describe something she felt rather than saw. They kept speaking until they decided speaking changed nothing. Mercer leaned forward. With respect, a kingdom cannot operate on feelings. Trust is not merely a feeling, Lena replied. It determines whether people believe their leaders will keep promises. Adrian opened another petition. Then another. His expression changed with every page. Lena expected anger, But what appeared instead was responsibility. I signed reports stating these matters had been reviewed, he said. Nathan looked through the administrative seals. Because the council summaries said they had been resolved. Adrian understood. The system had not required him to ignore his people. It had made their silence look like peace. Send riders to the western packs, Mercer suggested. Require their alphas to renew their oaths immediately. Lena felt several silver threads tighten at once. Adrian noticed the glow beneath her sleeve. Months earlier, he might have chosen authority because authority was predictable. Now he looked at the unopened petitions surrounding him. No summons, he said. Mercer stared. Your Majesty? No demands for renewed loyalty until we answer what they already asked of us. Adrian turned to Nathan. Prepare a delegation. Then he looked at Lena. I want you there, if you choose to come. The final words mattered more than anyone else in the chamber understood. Lena nodded. I will. That evening, Nathan brought them the oldest administrative ledger he could find. One symbol appeared repeatedly beside petitions that had been quietly removed from royal review. A crescent surrounded by 7 points. Lena slowly uncovered her wrist. The mark was identical. Adrian stared at the ledger. That symbol should not be in modern records. Why? Lena asked. He closed the chamber doors before answering. Because the last time I saw it was beneath the royal archive, carved into a sealed door my father ordered never to be opened. Nathan turned another brittle page and found 3 faded words beside the same symbol. Sacred Heartbond records. Lena felt every silver thread inside her awareness pull toward the floor beneath the palace. Whatever had fractured the Western Pax had begun long before Adrian became king, and somehow the forgotten history of the crowned Lunas was connected to it. The sealed door beneath the royal archive had no handle, no lock, and no inscription Adrian could read. It stood at the end of a narrow stone passage that had been forbidden since his childhood, its surface marked only by a crescent surrounded by 7 points. Lena stopped several feet away. The mark on her wrist glowed immediately. My father brought me here once, Adrian said. He told me some histories were buried because remembering them could divide the kingdom. Nathan studied the ancient stone. That sounds less like protection and more like a warning. Lena stepped closer. The invisible threads she had sensed throughout Blackthorn seemed to converge beyond the door. She raised her hand, then paused. Do either of you know what happens if I touch it? No, Adrian answered. Lena glanced at him. Months ago, he might have told her not to risk it. Instead, he added, so the decision is yours. She placed her palm against the crescent. Silver light moved beneath her fingers, not violently, but like moonlight spreading across still water. The 7 points illuminated one after another. Somewhere inside the wall, ancient mechanisms shifted and the stone door slowly opened. Beyond it waited a circular chamber untouched by daylight for centuries. Shelves curved around the walls, filled with leather manuscripts and silver-bound records. At the center stood a stone table carved with 2 symbols, a crown and an open hand. Nathan found a manuscript bearing the same words they had discovered in the ledger. Sacred Heartbond records. Lena opened it carefully. The first pages described something none of them expected. The Alpha King's Luna had not originally been a ceremonial companion chosen to strengthen a ruler. She had held an independent sacred responsibility. Where the Alpha guarded territory, the crowned Luna guarded trust. Where royal authority could command obedience, the Luna was meant to recognize fractures that authority could not see. That is what you have been feeling, Nathan whispered. Lena continued reading. The Heartbond could not reveal thoughts, force loyalty, or control emotion. It awakened only around damaged bonds and responded when truth restored what fear, neglect, or manipulation had weakened. Adrian read over her shoulder. There are conditions. Lena found them written beneath 3 silver circles. Truth, free choice, mutual trust. Beneath those words was a warning. A heartbond created through command, fear, or possession would fail. Adrian became very still. For generations, Luna ceremonies had centered on an alpha publicly claiming his chosen mate before the pack. Yet the oldest record described something entirely different. The Luna chose whether to stand beside the alpha, and the alpha publicly accepted that her sacred authority was not his to own. We changed it, Lena said. Not us, Adrian replied quietly. But the crown did. Nathan opened another record and found 6 names, each followed by the same title, crowned Luna. A seventh space had been deliberately scraped away. Lena touched the damaged stone beneath the manuscript, and her wrist flashed. Hidden silver writing emerged across the table. When the seventh Luna awakens, the crown must choose whether to possess her or stand beside her, Nathan read. Silence filled the chamber. Adrian looked at the velvet box still tucked inside his coat. The pendant he had intended as a symbol of love suddenly represented a tradition built on something far older and more complicated than he had understood. He removed the box and placed it unopened on the table. I almost asked you to become Luna because I was finally ready, he said. Lena met his eyes. That still made your readiness the center of the decision. Adrian nodded. The truth hurt, but he did not turn away from it. Then I was asking the wrong question. Before Lena could answer, another section of the stone table illuminated. A map appeared beneath their hands, showing 7 distant circles spread across the continent. 6 were dark. 1, beneath Blackthorn Palace, glowed silver. Nathan traced an inscription along its edge. Sanctuary of 7 Moons. Lena felt the Heartbond pull toward the western mountains. Then a final line appeared beneath the map, written in lettering older than the kingdom itself. The 7th Luna does not inherit the Heartbond. She completes what the first 6 could not. By morning, the secret beneath the royal archive had become impossible to separate from the crisis above it. Representatives from 3 Western packs had arrived unexpectedly at Blackthorn Palace, not to renew their oaths, but to demand answers about years of unanswered petitions. The Royal Council wanted Adrian to respond immediately. Announce the Luna ceremony tonight, Chancellor Mercer urged. The appearance of the sacred mark will reassure every pack that destiny still favors the crown. Lena stood near the council table and felt the crescent on her wrist grow cold. Adrian noticed. And what happens if Lena does not want the ceremony tonight? Mercer hesitated. She is your fated Luna. That was not my question. The chamber fell silent. Lena looked at Adrian and saw something different from the man who had entered the moon garden burning with jealousy. He was still powerful, still unmistakably alpha, but for once, his authority was not being used to close a choice. It was being used to protect one. Mercer lowered his voice. Your Majesty, the kingdom needs certainty. Then give them truth. Adrian placed copies of the unopened Western petitions on the table. Tell them the crown failed to hear them. Tell them I signed summaries believing their concerns had been addressed. Tell them I was wrong. Several council members exchanged uneasy glances. Nathan almost smiled. Lena did not. She understood what the admission would cost Adrian politically, and that made his next words matter more. There will be no Luna ceremony unless Lena chooses it freely. There will be no royal claim presented as destiny. Not tonight. Not ever. Lena felt warmth move through the silver mark. One of the 7 points brightened. Mercer stared at it. The Heartbond responded. To what? Nathan asked. Lena already knew. Truth. Adrian looked at her, but he did not reach for her. Later, in the Western reception hall, the visiting representatives expected commands. Instead, Adrian listened. One alpha described a mountain road that had been unusable for nearly 2 winters. Another explained how repeated requests for grain transport had disappeared into administrative offices. A third admitted his pack had stopped sending petitions because no one believed they mattered. Adrian offered no excuses. Lena watched the invisible fractures around them slowly loosen, not disappear. Trust could not be repaired by one meeting. But something had begun. Afterward, Nathan brought an old leather journal to Lena and Adrian. My father left this to me, he said. I thought his stories about the crowned Lunas were folklore. Adrian opened it. Nathan's father had served as keeper of records before his death. Several pages described a hidden route from Blackthorn to the Sanctuary of 7 Moons, roughly 60 miles west of the palace. You knew about this? Adrian asked. I knew the sanctuary might exist. I did not know Lena would awaken the Heartbond. Nathan turned to a page showing the same 7-point crescent. My father believed the crown Lunas disappeared because someone deliberately separated their authority from the Alpha Kings. Lena studied him. Why? Because a Luna who could reveal broken trust made it difficult for powerful people to hide behind loyalty. Adrian's expression darkened with thought, but Lena sensed no anger toward Nathan. Only another uncomfortable truth taking shape. Nathan pointed to a final passage. The sanctuary opens only when the crown and the heart arrive, without command between them. Adrian looked toward Lena. Then I cannot order you to go. No. And I cannot ask you as your king. No, he paused. Then I will ask as Adrian. Will you come with me? Lena held his gaze. This time, there was no velvet box between them, no ceremony waiting, no fear disguised as duty. Yes. That evening, they prepared to leave for the Western Mountains. As Lena crossed the palace courtyard, the 7 points around her crescent suddenly illuminated together. For one breath, she felt 6 distant places beyond Blackthorn, silent and sleeping. Then she felt a 7th presence beneath the mountains ahead, ancient, waiting, and somehow it already knew she was coming. The road into the Western Mountains narrowed beneath silver pines, and by late afternoon Blackthorn Palace had disappeared behind the ridgeline. Lena rode beside Adrian, while Nathan traveled several yards ahead with 2 royal guides. No banners announced the king. Adrian had deliberately left the larger escort behind. The sanctuary, Nathan's journal warned, recognized intention before rank. Near sunset, they reached a stone bridge overlooking a quiet valley where Nathan suddenly raised his hand. The trail changes beyond here. Adrian dismounted, then noticed Lena studying Nathan with an expression he could not read. For several minutes, neither spoke. Finally, Nathan approached him. There is something we should settle before we reach that sanctuary. Adrian understood immediately. Lena. Nathan nodded. You thought I wanted her. Adrian looked toward the valley. I did. I never did. Not as a mate. Nathan's voice held no resentment. She became my friend because you left an empty place beside her and expected destiny to keep it reserved for you. Adrian absorbed the words without defending himself. Nathan continued, quieter now. When she needed someone to listen, I listened. When she questioned whether she belonged at Blackthorn, I reminded her that belonging was not something you could grant. I did what I hoped you would eventually learn to do. Lena had approached silently enough to hear the final sentence. Adrian saw her and did not turn away. You deserved my trust, he told Nathan. Both of you did. Nathan gave a small nod. Then we are done with it. Adrian almost smiled. You forgive quickly. No. I simply dislike wasting daylight. Lena laughed softly, and the tension between the 3 finally loosened. They continued until twilight, when the trail ended before a massive stone wall carved directly into the mountain. 7 circles surrounded a single crescent at its center. Lena's wrist illuminated. Adrian stepped toward the carving, but nothing happened. Nathan consulted the journal. The crown and the heart arrive without command between them. Adrian looked at Lena. What does it need? Maybe nothing from you. She approached the wall alone. The crescent brightened, but the stone remained closed. Lena felt the Heartbond reaching toward Adrian, not demanding closeness, but searching for something unfinished. She turned. There is still something you have not said. Adrian's expression tightened. I apologized for doubting you. That is not what this is. He looked at Nathan, then back at Lena. For once, there was nowhere for the king to hide behind ceremony. I was afraid, Adrian said. The first silver circle illuminated. Not of the bond. Of needing someone enough that losing her could change me. A second circle glowed. So I called distance discipline. I told myself I was protecting the crown. His voice lowered. But I was protecting myself. The third circle awakened. Lena felt warmth move through her chest. Adrian did not ask her to forgive him. He did not reach for her. When I saw Nathan holding you, I was angry because I believed I had waited too long. But the truth is, Lena, you were never waiting to become mine. I was supposed to decide whether I could become someone worthy of standing beside you. The remaining circles burst gently into silver light. The mountain door began to open. Lena stared at Adrian, understanding at last why the Heartbond responded so strongly to truth. Not because honesty erased pain, but because it gave trust somewhere real to begin again. Beyond the doorway stretched a vast chamber illuminated by moonlight from an opening high above. 7 stone pathways converged around a circular platform. Lena stepped inside. Ancient symbols awakened beneath her feet. Then a voice seemed to rise from the stone itself, not spoken aloud but understood by the Heartbond. The 7th heart has arrived. Lena looked back at Adrian. The sanctuary had opened because he had finally surrendered the one thing an Alpha King was taught never to surrender. The illusion that strength required hiding fear. And at the center of the chamber, 7 silver names began appearing in the stone. 7 names shimmered across the sanctuary floor, but Lena could read only 6. The 7th remained hidden beneath a veil of silver light. She stepped toward the circular platform, while Adrian and Nathan stayed several feet behind her. For the first time since entering the mountain, the Heartbond felt completely still. No warning, no fracture, only a choice waiting to be made. Symbols appeared around the platform, forming words Lena somehow understood despite the ancient script. The crown Luna may stand with the crown, apart from the crown, or beyond it. Her heart belongs to no throne. Adrian read the translation carved along the outer ring and slowly exhaled. Everything his kingdom had taught him about the Luna bond had placed the Alpha at its center. The sanctuary placed Lena there instead. What happens if I accept this? She asked. Nathan searched his father's journal. There is nothing about acceptance. Lena looked toward Adrian. Then maybe that is the point. A narrow beam of moonlight descended through the opening above and touched the crescent on her wrist. The sanctuary responded. Lena suddenly sensed Adrian's bond with extraordinary clarity, but she still could not read his thoughts or command his emotions. She felt only the truth of what existed between them: affection, regret, hope, and trust still being rebuilt one honest choice at a time. Then another possibility opened before her. She could walk away. The Heartbond would remain hers. The sanctuary would not punish her. Destiny itself would not force her toward Adrian. The realization brought tears to her eyes, not from sadness, but relief. All this time, she whispered, everyone said the bond meant I belonged beside you. Adrian came no closer. They were wrong. Lena searched his face. And if I leave Blackthorn? The question hurt him. She saw that immediately. Yet his answer came without hesitation. Then I will make sure no one follows you unless you ask them to. Even you. Adrian swallowed. Especially me. Another silver circle illuminated beneath Lena's feet. Nathan quietly stepped farther away, understanding that the next choice belonged only to them. Lena remembered the months of distance, the moon garden, Adrian's jealousy, and every moment afterward when he had chosen to listen instead of command. He had not become perfect. Neither had she forgotten the hurt. But love, she realized, did not require pretending wounds had never existed. It required deciding whether two people could build something wiser from the truth. Lena stepped off the central platform and walked toward Adrian. His eyes followed her, but he remained still. I do not choose the crown, she said. I know. I do not choose you because some ancient bond decided I should. I know. Lena stopped before him. I choose Adrian Vale, the man who finally learned that protecting someone includes respecting the door when she chooses to walk through it. Something vulnerable crossed his face. And if I forget that lesson, I will remind you. A faint smile touched his mouth. I believe. You. Lena offered her hand. Adrian looked at it for one quiet heartbeat before taking it. The sanctuary filled with silver light. Not a blast of power, but thousands of luminous threads unfolding through the chamber like a constellation coming alive. The 7 points around Lena's crescent joined into a complete circle. Adrian's royal mark glowed in answer, yet neither symbol consumed the other. They remained separate and connected. Equal. Nathan stared at the walls as forgotten inscriptions appeared across them. Lena, he whispered. Look. The 7th name was finally emerging from the stone. But before Lena could read it, another message appeared beneath the sanctuary map. 6 distant circles remained dark while Blackthorn burned silver. Then one of those distant circles flickered once. The Heartbond had awakened something beyond their kingdom, and whatever the first 6 crowned Lunas had left unfinished was beginning to answer. When Lena, Adrian, and Nathan returned to Blackthorn 3 days later, the kingdom had already begun to change. The Western representatives were still at the palace, but this time they were not waiting outside closed council doors. Adrian had ordered every unresolved petition brought into public review, and for the first time in years, pack leaders could hear exactly where their requests had disappeared inside the royal system. Yet the greatest change came beneath the winter crown on the night of the renewal gathering. Hundreds assembled in the moon court expecting Adrian to perform the traditional Luna claim. Instead, the Alpha King walked into the silver circle alone. Lena waited outside it. Nathan stood among the royal advisors, carrying the recovered sacred Heartbond records. Adrian faced the gathered packs. For generations, Our ceremony taught that an alpha claims his Luna before the kingdom. We believe this honored the bond. He looked toward Lena. The oldest records say otherwise. Murmurs moved through the court. A Luna was never meant to be possessed by the crown. She chose whether to stand beside it. Adrian extended his hand, but he did not summon her. He simply waited. Lena felt every eye turn toward her. Months ago, those eyes would have frightened her. Tonight, she understood that choice meant little when no one was willing to witness it. She stepped into the moon circle because she wanted to. When her hand met Adrian's, the crescent on her wrist illuminated, followed by all 7 silver points. I stand beside Adrian Vale, Lena said, her voice steady across the silent court. Not because destiny commands me, and not because a throne defines me. I stand here because trust was broken, truth was spoken, and we chose to rebuild. Adrian lowered his head, not as a king demanding loyalty, but as a man accepting an equal promise. And I stand beside Lena Whitmore without ownership, without command, and without asking her strength to become smaller, so mine can appear greater. The Heartbond awakened. Silver threads appeared throughout the moon court, connecting families, advisors, pack representatives, and servants in thousands of delicate lines. Some shone brightly. Others flickered where trust remained damaged. Lena understood immediately that the Heartbond had not repaired anything for them. It had only revealed where healing still required honesty, patience, and work. That was its wisdom. Sacred power could show a fracture, but people still had to choose whether to mend it. Nathan watched the ancient record in his hands begin to glow. New words formed across a blank page. Keeper of Oaths. He stared at Adrian. The king smiled faintly. It seems the sanctuary chose work for you too. Nathan sighed. I was afraid of that. Lena laughed, and even Adrian could not hide his smile. Later that night, after the court had emptied, the 3 returned to the chamber beneath the royal archive. The 7-crowned Luna names now appeared clearly across the stone table. 6 belonged to women who had lived centuries earlier. The 7th made Lena stop breathing. Lena Whitmore. Her own name had been carved into ancient stone long before her birth. Adrian stared at it. How is that possible? Nathan opened his father's journal, but no explanation waited there. Then another inscription appeared beneath Lena's name. When the 7th heart awakens, the first alpha will remember. The sanctuary. Map illuminated. Blackthorn glowed silver. Far beyond the western mountains, a second circle slowly awakened. Lena felt it through the Heartbond. Impossibly distant, yet unmistakably alive. This was not a fracture. It was an answer. Adrian stood beside her, close enough that she could reach for him, but careful enough to let her choose. Lena slipped her hand into his. Once, he had believed love meant finally claiming his Luna. Now he understood the greater truth. Love had become real only when claiming was no longer necessary. Beyond Blackthorn, the second sanctuary burned brighter, and somewhere beneath mountains forgotten by every living map, something ancient remembered the name of the Alpha King.